When we think about great startups, we often imagine the technology, the product, or the market size. But behind every successful startup is something less tangible yet incredibly powerful: storytelling. Storytelling is the art of taking your audience on a journey, helping them feel the urgency of a problem and the inevitability of your solution. It is how you captivate investors, inspire customers, and unite your team. Data may be rational, but humans are wired for narrative. We remember stories, we feel stories, and we connect to stories far more deeply than we ever do with spreadsheets or charts. This is why mastering narrative driven pitches is such an essential skill. It isn't fluff, it's the difference between getting ignored and getting funded, between a product people try and a movement people rally behind. The importance of storytelling comes down to four key reasons. First, humans connect with stories. From childhood fairy tales to modern films, narrative is how we make sense of the world. Stories trigger emotion and memory in ways raw data never can. You might forget a statistic, but you'll remember the story behind it. Second, storytelling creates urgency. A founder who can make a problem feel urgent transforms an abstract market gap into a relatable personal experience. They don't just say, "This is a $10 billion problem." They make you feel the pain of a frustrated customer who loses time, money, or peace of mind every single day. Third, storytelling unifies stakeholders. A compelling narrative becomes the rallying cry for investors, customers, and employees. It gives purpose to your mission and creates alignment. Everyone feels like they are part of the same journey. Finally, storytelling bridges understanding. It connects the dots between the problem and your solution. Without the story, the leap from pain point to product can feel jarring. With the story, your solution feels inevitable. It becomes the obvious answer. At its best, storytelling is not a performance. It is the thread that weaves together data, emotion, and vision into a single unforgettable pitch. Great startup stories often follow a familiar arc, one that mirrors the timeless hero's journey. It begins with the problem. Here, you paint the pain clearly and emotionally. You make your audience feel the frustration and identify with the struggle. The goal is for them to think, "Yes, I've felt that." Next comes the failed attempts. You explain why existing options fall short, highlighting the gap between what users need and what they currently get. This shows that the problem is not only real, but also unsolved. Then comes the turning point. This is when you introduce your solution as the breakthrough moment. This is where your unique insight changes everything. The timing feels perfect, the problem feels urgent, and your solution feels revolutionary. Finally, the resolution. You describe the transformation your product creates. You show the after picture, the world once your solution exists. Customers are happier, more productive, more empowered. This arc makes your startup the enabler of transformation. You're not the hero, your user is. Your product is the tool that helps them win. This makes the story universal, compelling, and deeply relatable. To tell this kind of story, you must learn to frame the problem effectively. Start with real user struggles. Don't describe your market gap in abstract terms like inefficiency in workflow systems. Instead, talk about the project manager who spends hours copying data from one tool to another late at night, exhausted. Make it human. Use specific examples. Detail the frustrations in ways that people can visualize. Say, imagine waiting 45 minutes in the rain for a taxi that never shows up. Instead of, transportation options are unreliable. Specificity creates resonance. Highlight the emotional impact. It's not just about wasted time or lost dollars, it's about the anxiety, frustration, or missed opportunities those problems cause. When people feel the emotion behind the problem, they understand its urgency. The goal of recognition is to make your audience think, yes, I felt that exact pain. Once they nod along, you've established validation. You're no longer telling them about a problem, they're reliving it with you. Once the problem is clear, it's time to frame the solution. First, position it as the hero's tool. Remember, your user is the hero, not your product. Your solution is the sword they wield, the map they follow, the tool that makes their victory possible. Second, emphasize benefits over features. Customers don't care about technical specs, they care about outcomes. Don't tell them your app syncs across devices. Tell them they'll never lose another important file again. Third, focus on pain removal and gain delivery. Show how your solution eliminates specific frustrations and delivers meaningful value. Make the before and after contrast unmistakable. Finally, keep it anchored in one big promise. Don't overwhelm your audience with dozens of features. Choose one transformative promise that's easy to remember. The best pitches leave a single, powerful idea in the listener's mind. Here's the pro tip: once you frame the problem correctly, your solution should feel inevitable. The audience should think, of course, why didn't I think of that? That's when you know the story has landed. A great example of storytelling in action is Dropbox's early pitch. The problem they described was simple and relatable. People lose files. Email attachments are messy. USB drives fail at the worst moments. Anyone who had ever tried to juggle files instantly understood the frustration. The solution was just as clear: your stuff anywhere. In 4 words, Dropbox conveyed accessibility, reliability, and peace of mind. Notice how there was no technical jargon about cloud storage, servers, or syncing protocols. The story was human and universal. Everyone immediately grasped both the pain and the promise. The result? Massive adoption. Millions of users signed up before the product was even fully built. Dropbox proved that clear, relatable storytelling can create genuine demand and pull from the market. The lesson is powerful. The best startup stories make complex technology feel obvious, simple, and inevitable. They don't just explain, they resonate. In the end, storytelling is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is how you frame the problem, introduce the solution, and inspire people to believe in your vision. Stories work because they connect on an emotional level. They make problems feel urgent and solutions feel inevitable. They unify stakeholders and bridge understanding. The structure is timeless: problem, failed attempts, turning point, resolution. Your job is to tell this story in a way that makes your customer the hero and your product the tool. Frame the problem with real struggles, specific examples, and emotional resonance. Frame the solution with benefits, simplicity, and one powerful promise. Remember Dropbox's example. They didn't talk about technology. They told a story that everyone already lived. That's why it worked. The challenge for every founder is to master this art, because at the end of the day, investors don't just fund numbers, they fund stories. Customers don't just buy features, they buy stories. Teams don't just rally around tasks, they rally around stories. And the founders who tell the clearest, most compelling stories are the ones who win.